Hi, and welcome back for Chapter 15 of True Colors audiobook. In the last episode, we witnessed a revealing of loyalties that Cassie sure didn't see coming. Did you? And what now? Will she be granted her freedom based on the acknowledgement that her abduction was a monstrous misunderstanding? Or what will become of her? Let's watch and listen.
True Colors, Chapter 15. For 3/4 of an hour I paced, sat, stood, and paced again in the office of a Confederate general. Though the hour was late, there were many such offices with threads of light shining beneath closed doors inside the state capitol building in Richmond, which also now served as the capital of the Confederate States of America. Heavy double doors separated me from the room where a heated discussion brewed. The young private who guarded me seemed quite bored with the whole matter. It was not his fate being determined at this moment by a foregathering of enemy powers. Michael seemed to genuinely desire that I be sent back home, and insisted on pleading my case to a higher authority. His voice rose with resolution on the other side of the doors. I refused to believe the other 6 men could in any way justify holding me here. But when their voices, peppered with profanities, came back at Michael's with equal resolve, I wondered. The guard took only mild regard of me, then his face contorted as he sucked in a tremendous yawn. I envied him his peace. There came a light knock on the door of the office, then it opened and a uniformed man entered. The guard stood straight for the first time. When the man took notice of me, he removed his hat, exposing a shock of sandy blonde hair that looked as if it took no orders from this Confederate officer. He smiled warmly and bowed. His dark brown eyes then cut to the solid doors behind which the battle raged. "As you were, Private." The soldier relaxed his stance but did not resume his slouched posture against the wall. From the street I could see the light was on and figured the general was still in. He spoke in a typical Southern cadence. "The general is in conference right now, sir." "I can see that, or should I say, I can hear that." He winced as more profanity leaked from the inner office, then looked toward me. "Excuse me for speaking before we've had a proper introduction, but perhaps you should wait in the hall, out of earshot of such vociferations." "I am the cause of such vociferations." He took a step back in surprise. "I don't believe that for 1 minute." "I really don't care what you believe." I swept past him and walked to the window, pulled aside the drape, and looked out onto the dark streets of the Confederate capital, the gaslights having long been extinguished. He stepped to the guard and they conversed in low voices. Then the officer joined me at the window. I forced my eyes outward, choosing to cast my sight upon the black sky rather than yet another gray uniform. "You don't look like a spy." I turned to him. "I'm no spy." He raised his hands in front of him. I did nothing to deserve this treatment. I haven't slept. I haven't been fed. I don't even know how I got to this godforsaken land of traitors and liars and crazy people. And now those war horses are in there deciding my fate." He hardly dared to respond. "If there's been some mistake, I'm sure the general—" "If there's been a mistake? Listen, mister, I deliver medicine to patients, not messages to agents. The kind of operations I take part in are done on hospital wards, not in clandestine corners of the forest." His brow raised. "Don't tell me. Are you one of those female nurses?" I cocked my head to the side. "Do I look like a male nurse?" His grin grew wide. "No, ma'am. At least you don't look like any of the nurses who ever worked under me." I questioned him with my eyes. "I'm a surgeon." His chest swelled and his head tilted back. "One of the best in the Confederate Army, actually." I rolled my eyes. "And I'll just bet you received your medical training at the University of Pennsylvania." He stared at me with no small amount of surprise. "How could you possibly have known that?" I brushed past him. Has that institution spawned an entire fraternity of chest-thumping braggarts? The voices behind the ominous doors were less raucous now. Was the debate over? Perhaps they were planning the details of my return trip. Do I detect a hint of an accent from that area of Pennsylvania? His tone remained friendly despite my curtness. I don't have an accent. You do here, miss. Oh, you surely do. But I find it rather charming. I peered sideways at him through narrowed eyes. What would a Confederate officer know about charm? My intended insult only caused him to laugh. My dear Yankee gentlewoman, don't believe for 1 minute that we're all despicable traitors, liars, or crazy people. Some of us are quite amicable. Don't talk to me about amicable. I've had my fill of Southern hospitality. I could no longer hold in my tears. He retrieved a handkerchief from an inside pocket of his tunic. Here, take this. You're obviously overtired and hungry and under a great deal of emotional strain. But this will all be over soon, I'm sure. I rejected both his hanky and his cursory assurances. Is it conventional and hospitable Southern society for a gentleman to make promises he can't keep? With a sudden clap, the double doors ruptured like a crack in a dam, spilling forth a torrent of gray floodwaters. As each man exited, he looked at me, then dropped his gaze. Every one, except for Michael, who only stared at me and the amicable officer whose supportive hand now rested on my shoulder. Michael walked to me, took my arm, and stepped away from the surgeon. I looked at my husband. This can't mean... I'm afraid it's a matter of national security. But I didn't do anything. I'm not finished with this yet, believe me. Why should I believe you? You've told me nothing but lies since the day I met you. I turned from him and returned to the window. No one in the room spoke, yet I could feel all eyes on me. Where am I to go? Michael took a deep breath before answering. There's a place in town called Castle Godwin. I faced him. What kind of a place? It's mainly for Northern sympathizers and political prisoners. A prison? Michael, you can't let them do this. I've seen the old Capitol and Carroll prisons in Washington for Southern sympathizers. I don't want to go to a place like that. I told you I'm not finished with this. Tomorrow morning I'm going to see President Davis, even if I have to personally yank him out of bed. He has the authority to release you. Do you think he will? It was the general who answered. Don't count on the president overruling this. You know your work has long-lasting significance, Mike. The Yankee woman must remain here. She's not the Yankee woman, General. She's my fiancée. And you'll do her no good if you end up in prison yourself. Your threats of the last hour border on treason. The warning hung heavy in the room. The silence was broken by the general's voice. Guard. He nodded toward me. The soldier straightened, then walked across the room. Michael. I stepped closer to him. The guard took hold of my arm. Michael put his arm tightly around me. Get your hand off her. He's under orders, Mike. Now let her go. He disobeyed that order. I'm sorry, Miss Golden, the general said. This truly is an unfortunate situation. You have the sincere regrets of the government of the Confederate States of America, but there is no other alternative. She could come with me. All eyes turned to the officer who had tried to befriend me while the potentates deliberated my fate. Justin, I don't know what you're doing here at this ungodly hour, the general said, but trust that this is neither the time nor the place for your perennial jokes. I'm not joking, Uncle William. She told me she's a nurse. I could use her expertise at the new prison hospital where I've been assigned as chief surgeon. We've begun moving into the renovated stockade southwest of town. No, Michael stated. She'd be confined, Uncle, the officer continued with no acknowledgement of Michael's protest, but in an open compound, not an old warehouse or tobacco factory like Castle Godwin, and she'd be taken care of her own men who'll need more constant care than I'll be able to provide, men who share her loyalties. His eyes turned on me and he flashed a boyish grin. Men who'll think they'll died and went to heaven when she appears standing over them. Men who haven't even seen a woman in months, Michael remonstrated. I suppose the least we can do is allow Miss Golden to make that decision for herself, the general said. Michael turned to me. I know of that stockade. It's too spacious to remain just a hospital. They'll turn it into a prison camp before long. A camp full of healthy men, some without honor who wouldn't hesitate to take advantage of an unprotected woman. At least at Castle Godwin there are other women. My eyes lowered. I couldn't conceive of staying in either place, yet if Jefferson Davis should refuse to release me, I'd at least want to go where I could still be of some use to the Union. Cassie, don't defy me in this. He was speaking now like a husband, but the disclosures of the past few hours cast doubt on his right to do so. Excuse me, Colonel, the doctor said, but stay out of this. But the general said she could choose for herself. Stop it, all of you. I'm sick to death of all this bantering about what to do with me and where to put me. Just send me home. The only decision I want to have to make is what to choose for breakfast when I get there. Eggs or flapjacks. Mrs. Fillmore makes the lightest, butteriest flapjack. My tears spilled over. Michael placed a protective hand on my arm. It will just be one night in Castle Godwin. I'll see to it that your only decision is your choice of supper when you arrive home tomorrow evening. The lady isn't one for hearing promises that can't be kept, the surgeon said. I withdrew from Michael and wiped my tears. He's right. You heard them say that Davis won't release me, and I simply cannot waste away in some dark, grimy tobacco factory. Taking slow steps of surrender, I walked to the young officer. Cassie, Michael's voice burned with anger. The doctor offered his arm. It was with great hesitation that I took hold of it and allowed him to lead me out of the room.
So there will be no going home to freedom. A prison hospital stockade or a grimy tobacco factory. Which do you think you would have chosen? Join Cassie next time and see how things fare at this prison stockade with the friendly chief surgeon. Thanks for watching. See you next time.